at Lunenburg Cable Access and on YouTube.
Thank you. Call to order is complete then, and roll call, Richard Birch. Richard Birch has just said he's present remotely. Todd Dwyer is a little late. Bob Pease.
Present.
Carl Luck present. Jack Rabbit. Present. Kenneth Jones.
Present.
And our new member, welcome.
Thank you.
Katie Childs.
Present.
Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any announcements by the commission? No?
Are we under public comment?
Not yet,
Okay.
but announcements, if there are no announcements. Is there any public comment by the commission?
Subsequent to the last meeting, the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Greg Bittner, received a letter from what's the address, 384?
842 Rear.
842 Rear, from the owner of 842 Rear, Chase Road, saying that it's landlocked, it's bounded on the north, west and east by large town forest, it's partially bounded on the south by the Lane property, and they were interested in donating it to the town. Greg forwarded that to the town manager and to, I believe, to Matt, and Rich asked me if I'd be willing to meet with the town manager about it, and so I did. To tell her that, we had, previous to even knowing about this possible donation, we had expressed interest in this property for conservation purposes. Town manager said that the warrants for the special town meeting were going to be reopened last night, and that she was going to work with council to prepare two warrants, one to accept the land and the other to abate. There's somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 worth of taxes owed on it. That her office would initiate any, connection with the landowner. Also, during this back and forth, Brandon Kibbe was made aware of this land. This donation. Brandon is the chairman of the Open Space Committee. He said that it was a no-brainer for the town to acquire this property. It's been suggested to me that during this public comment session that I make a motion that the Conservation Commission express to the Board of Selectmen their interest in acquiring this property and accepting this donation. And so I am making that motion.
I would second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion? Is procedurally, can we take a vote on?
Procedurally, you can.
Okay.
You can declare it that the issue came up after the agenda was posted,
Right.
and then in the interest of time, considering we wouldn't be able to act after this meeting, that it can come on the agenda.
Right.
I did speak also with the town manager this evening. She saw me here at the table before she left, shortly before you guys came. She did want me to let you guys know that one of the issues is that they're going to need to find out where the money for the forgiveness of taxes would come from. So I know I spoke to the chairman about it briefly over the phone. We might be able to give the revenue out of our cutting fees when we get, money in from the lumber. The other thing is she's checking in to make sure that there's going to be no snafus, because there's a threshold of like $35,000 on land value before it might have to go some type of other legal step, which I'm not familiar with, which I'm going to get more information from her for you guys. So she's checking into all that, and she did tell me that town council is diligently working on the correct wording for the article.
Good. Okay, so that's good news, because I know the warrant is going to reclose before we meet again, so I do find it is appropriate and that we do take a vote on this
So,
motion.
Commissioner Pease, as soon as I find out the other subsequent information, in more detail, I will give you a shout and let you know, verbally what's going on before I inform the rest of the commission in case you need to, because I know you're working on the issue, in case there are things you feel you want to do in the meantime.
And Brandon, Heather also, the town manager also said we would need a survey, of the property, or, to define its boundary lines, its meets and bounds, and that she would want to take and have some kind of 21E declaration that there's no pollution on the ground, on the land. Subsequent to that, Brandon sent her an email saying that he'd be willing to go out there and do the meets and bounds, and he'd be willing to do the title search, and that he thought that a full 21E report was not necessary given its history, but he'd be willing to take and walk the entire property to see, is there anything out there, that would indicate that such a thing was necessary, which is all good.
Yeah. Thank you for your work on that, Bob, and Brandon, out there somewhere, thank you very much, good man. Okay, if there's no more discussion, then I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Did someone second?
I did.
Yeah. Ken did.
Okay.
I seconded.
And Rich said aye.
And the chairman Rich has voted aye.
Yep, so it's unanimous. Thank you. Thanks, Bob. Okay, any other public comment
I
from the
have
board?
just one very quick one. It would be much briefer than Bob's, but far less important. Just to let everybody know, the pollinator habitat on Hollis Road, on the piece of land that we have, we mowed the field the other day. We staked out all the areas that we had planted over the summer, and then mowed the rest of the field down to maintain it as pasture for the winter. So that got done this week.
Great, thank you, Ken.
And I'd just like to thank a company called Alpha Snow Control. Came with their tractor and donated their time and the fuel for the tractor and stuff like that to mow it down. So appreciate them stepping up and helping us out.
I'm not familiar with them. Are they Lunenburg?
Yeah, they're from Lunenburg. They do driveway snow blowing and things like that. So they're on Facebook. Also, the community pollinator habitat is on Facebook for everybody that's out there. If you want to follow us on Facebook, that'd be great. You can find out some awesome information about pollinators and stuff like that. So, little plug. All right.
Well done, Ken. Thank you. Okay, no more comment from the commission. I'll take public comment. Sure, come on right up here. And if you just state your name
My
and
name is
address.
Jeremy Spring. I'm from 62 Ruth Street, Lunenburg, Mass. So I want to thank the commission once again for having me. And also, I'm a Life Scout, part of 1728 Lunenburg, our Boy Scout troop. I want to present my Eagle Scout project. So I have a little plot plan here for you. But so my plan is going to be on Pleasant Street, the conservation lane there, the Laurel Links Conservation Lane.
You got one. Thank you.
I'll take one for the chairman shows up. Todd shows up.
But so what I want to do there is really reconfigure it, make it more convenient for the townspeople to get in there if they need to, or just regular day citizens who want to get in there, walk around, take their dogs for a walk, or just walk by themselves, go into the trails there, all the way back there, come in. I want to make it a little bit more convenient. So is there anywhere you want me to start off by talking about with my Eagle Scout project?
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first off, in front there, you might know there's a really large boulder. And I found going in there, there's a flat side there. So I want to move it to the side in front of the gate to the right, if you're looking in, and stand it up on its side and keep it up. and then put a sign there, and I want to ask you for what you want to put there, maybe a map or just the name of the conservation land or anything you want to put in there to just so people can read it and see maybe a map to go in there and know where they're going to go. Also, because we're going to move that out, it's going to leave the gate open. So we want to stand the gate back up and make it accessible and workable. Spray paint it again, make it so with a lock, so people who need to get in there can unlock it, swing it open, and get in there if anyone has to get in there from the town. Because from a neighbor there, when I was there, they said there was a fire there, and the firemen couldn't get in there. So I thought that would be good for that reason, or policemen if they have to get in there for any reason. I also want to expand the parking lot and level it out, so people who are going in there can park their cars and not a whole bunch of cars, so there's difficulty parking and everything like that, so people aren't on close to the road and stuff and aren't all over the place. It will let them go in there with some room, so if anything happens, people can pull in and out without any trouble. There's also going to be some, we're going to get an excavator in, and that's how we're going to move the rocks. There's rocks to the left where we're going to move them out to enlarge the parking area. We're going to get gravel and maybe some mulch in there to level it out. And then to kind of bring it back, cut maybe some trees down, rake it, get everything cleaned up around there, even back into the trails maybe a little bit, clean it up, because there's quite a bit of trash from people littering. So rake all the leaves, get the trash out so it looks nice. And then finally, I want to add some benches up by, you can see, there's benches, and there's a big oak tree, I think it is. So I want to put benches up there to kind of commemorate Zachary Quinn. I really started this out because I know Mary Perkins, and she knows Zachary, mom and dad, so Mr. and Mrs. Quinn. And I started working with them, and they kind of want to give him like a quiet zone and kind of remembrance of him. So maybe we were going to put a plaque or a quote he had, and maybe his name up there, because his, you can see there's the tree that is really close to there, just to give him like a remembrance of there, because sadly he passed in the accident. So to kind of give people also a sitting place coming in and out.
Very nice.
This is 225.
Is this the tree you're replacing in this term? This one here?
So this is the tree this is the big oak tree that we're gonna add on here.
Okay.
And then this we're gonna cut out because there's a fairly big tree in the middle.
You gotta remove the tree?
There's a fairly big tree that we're gonna keep there. Then there's some small brushes that we're gonna clear out there. And then the far one to the left, we're gonna, that's his tree. So you can get kind of a picture of where it is in relation to everything. That's all I have.
Any comments or questions from the commission?
I'm sorry, can you just go over here for a second?
Sure.
Where along here are you with this?
So right where 4 is, right across from
Okay,
there.
all right, thank you
Just
very much.
about where the
Thank you.
entrance is.
Thank you.
Jeremy, when were you planning on doing the work?
So I have to get my all my Eagle project stuff in. So I'm hoping to start after the winter once the snowfall
All right, so it's not
melts.
the time crunch is not a super rush. I think it would be beneficial for us maybe to meet you out there, and we could look at it.
Yeah,
In the
for
field
sure.
would be great, I think. We usually do site visits on Saturday morning. Maybe we could just incorporate that into our site visits.
absolutely.
And you could just, show us on the ground what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think, from my perspective, I think it's an amazing project. I think it'd be awesome to fix that area up a little bit. We've actually been talking about replacing that gate anyway with something a little bit beefier and a little bit newer, so that might tie right into this project as
And
well.
I can talk to you if
Yeah.
you want to,
Yep.
just for me to kind of structure it and make it better,
Yep.
or just put a new gate in there.
Yeah, perfect. I think that, would tie in well, and that's a piece that doesn't get a lot of attention, so I think that would be great.
Yeah, no, this is a good project. It's a nice little conservation
Yeah.
land, but its value is diminished but
Yeah,
because of this condition of the
Yeah.
parking
Yeah,
and
and
all these
there's-
things that you're addressing, so that's really great. really
And
good
driving
idea.
in there, you don't really
Yeah.
see it.
Right, exactly.
Matt, would you be able to coordinate with Jeremy as far as
Absolutely.
a site visit and things like that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Comment. This is a nice drawing. You did a really good job on this plane right
It
there.
wasn't me, it was,
I mean, look at this. It's even got the little engineer's box in it. You got the
That-
title, you got the date, you got the fact that it's not to scale.
That
Rob
was-
Oliver, take notice. This is wonderful. I mean,
thanks. Me and my mom did it because she does that for work, so we worked together
Yeah,
on
that's
that.
great.
You're learning.
well, Mom, wherever you are, that was cool.
Yeah, good job. Jeremy, this is a pile of work. This is a ton of work. Are you gonna bring 3 more troops with you, or?
No, I'll get members of my troop to come in, and I'll probably need maybe 5, 6, and we'll probably be able to get it done. I'm hoping in maybe 3 months. There's some priority things that I'll get done first, that maybe I could talk to you about
Yeah,
what
definitely.
you want to do first.
Sure.
You know, for the rest of your life, you're gonna be able to go by that park and say, I did that.
Yeah.
And that is really cool.
No, it's amazing.
That
It's
is-
great.
that is
Yeah,
wonderful.
super.
And
So I think
the fact that you want to do a commemoration to
Yeah.
Mr. Lynn, that's just awesome.
So,
It was very thoughtful.
yeah, definitely. I think, as far as we're concerned, I don't know if we need to take a vote on it tonight, but I think conceptually, I think it's a great
Yeah,
project.
It's a good project. Just the one question on you mentioned an excavator. Is someone going to help you out with an excavator? Or where's that come
Not
from?
an excavator, kind of like a backhoe. We'll be able to bring it in there and I'll keep it away from the road, but my dad has some friends that he works with and associates that he'll be able to bring in there, hopefully, and move it back, or I'll be able to find someone
Great
who
big
will be.
rock.
Yeah,
Okay, well done, Jeremy. So hopefully, it's not this Saturday, but the next walk is the Saturday after this one, right?
Saturday after this one.
Saturday after this one. If you're available in that morning,
It would be the 28th.
that would be
Okay.
great. And then we
Yeah.
can,
And I'll
Probably give Matt a call in the
contact you about
office. Yeah, and call her an email, and then we'll coordinate that.
Yeah.
okay,
Send the old man an email tomorrow and I'll coordinate with him.
okay.
The old man's me.
and then I guess we need to think about the sign.
Yeah, we can talk about that at some point.
Good. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Really, really good job. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment from the public? Okay. Then we'll proceed with the first hearing of the evening. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public meeting on a request for determination of applicability for the replacement of an existing deck at 63 Peninsula Drive by Mark and Diane Erickson. Application and supporting documents are available for review at the Conservation Commission office or by calling 978-582-4147 by appointment. I think that's all we need in the announcement. So, Mr. Erickson. Come on down.
Yes, good evening. Mark and Diane Erickson, 63 Peninsula Drive. We'd like to replace a second-story deck. It's 8 by 8. We're going to keep the same footprint. There's a staircase leading down from the second story down to ground level. It's outside the 30-foot no-touch zone, but within the 100-foot buffer zone. It's about 50 feet from the water.
Carl, did you have the drawing so Katie can see it? I don't know if she's seen it.
So I got the PDF.
Oh, you have it,
here.
yeah, perfect, all right, great.
So we did do a site work. First, thank you for coming forward for this humongous project here. And we did, a few of us did get to go down on the site walk, and it looked pretty straightforward to me. I was there, so that was my input. That it's pretty straightforward. As you say, it's pretty far from the lake, and there's no new No new intrusions or anything within the area that I can tell. I presume even this is the second story, there's some sauna tubes below. He's going to reuse the same.
Actually,
Put new
one of the
sauna
sauna tubes needs to be replaced. It's not
It's not in
sturdy
good
enough.
condition. Okay.
But he'll be digging it out by hand. There won't be any excavation work in there or anything.
Perfect.
Yeah, but he will be installing new sauna tubes.
Okay, yeah, we didn't go check the condition of them, so
Yeah.
take your word. Any questions or comments from the
You
commission?
know, I mean, I agree with Carl. I was on the site walk, and, you know, it's an area that, it's away from the water. It's pretty well protected by you have some stone there or something already. It looked like it's, you know,
Yeah, we've been before the commission in the past to get approval on
Sure.
other improvements we've made in that
yeah,
area.
yep. I think it's
Thank you.
pretty straightforward.
I said I would entertain a motion.
Can I ask for public comment first?
Oh, yes, thank you. New at this job. Is there any comment from the public on this project? No? Okay. No. Okay, good. Then I would entertain a motion for the determination as the commission sees fit.
So moved.
Negative determination.
Negative determination, so moved.
Second?
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Well done, Richard.
Thank you.
It's unanimously approved.
Great.
Great,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 31, Section 131, thank you. He'll do the next one. As amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public meeting on a request for determination of applicability for the addition of a deck and the replacement of a brick walkway and steps within the buffer zone at 455 Townsend Harbor Road by James Shearer. Is there anyone here representing? Oh, there, Mr. Shearer. Come on. You can speak into the
Actually,
mic.
if you
We
could
can
come over
do-
here to the microphone.
We maybe should put a chair over there. Yeah, thank you, Bob.
Have my moments.
I'm gonna get my feet tangled up in all these wires, and you guys are gonna have nothing. Here, I'll stand, I'm okay.
No, we're good. We'll just do this. How's that?
You want to hurt anyone?
Thank you.
So
So I
just
am-
introduce yourself, name and address,
I was
please.
just
for the
going to do
record.
that. I am Jim Shearer. I live at 455 Townsend Harbor Road with my significant other, Tracy Griffin, who's also with me. And the contractor who will be doing most of the work is Stephen Rybicki, who also is a Lunenburg resident. And I know that most of the members of the commission here have been out to visit me this last weekend. So as far as I know, there are no questions, but I'm here to answer any if you might have. Essentially what we're doing is replacing this brick patio that has individual red bricks. And they've heaved and they've broken and they've moved all around and they've become part of the reason why I'm still carrying this cane right now. So, you know, we're going to try to go after that and some beautification as well.
So you've got an existing brick walkway here. It carries down.
So the entire length of the brick walkway will be replaced?
I'm not
or-
sure. We haven't figured out how we're going to marry the grade yet, so we'll have to wait until we get to that point.
You're 32 feet out at that point.
Right, 32 feet out.
Well, to, you know,
Yeah, to the steps.
the walkways,
30
the walkway comes right up
within.
to
Here,
where.
right. So there'd be,
Yeah, you had mentioned, oh, sorry, you had mentioned that you probably weren't going to replace the steps going down to the
No.
water itself.
Nice pieces of marble.
Yeah,
in
those
there.
look like really nice steps to start.
Down the beach, yeah. It's like material.
well, I guess that's one question is what, have you selected the material that you're not going to reuse brick, right? You're going to use a
No.
different material?
For most of the deck, we're going to use Trex. It's artificial engineered building product.
For the deck part, but for
The
the
deck
actual
part.
walkway.
Oh, for the walkway, what I've been looking at, and I haven't found anything yet that meets the situation, is porous pavers.
Yeah.
And I've tried to do some looking this afternoon on the internet without a lot of success. So I'm going to probably have to go around to Moores and Powell's and whoever
Yeah.
else, carries this kind of stuff, and see if we can get some.
Yeah, I know there's several companies out there that have a permeable paver type brick. I think like Pavestone and some of the other ones out there have one that, Powell's and those places carry, so, a
Okay.
little bit of research. But I think, for our point of view, I think if you could use a permeable or a porous block, it would be, it would be better. But certainly, to maintain and fix what you have there, I think is certainly allowable.
Now, the one area that wasn't clear when we came and visited was to the, if I'm in the lake looking back at the house, to the left of the existing steps that are being replaced at the deck. You were planning to continue those steps further down? At least this drawing shows this area here, Jack, is new.
Yeah.
That's not, that's
Oh,
just,
this is okay.
That's just graded slope right now.
Okay.
So what are you planning to do in that area? Are you still planning to have the steps go almost the full length of the...
Yes, I think we'll probably go most of that way, because it's easier to maintain the continuum there than it is from bricks. Steve, did you have any comments about that?
No. The landscape, we're just gonna tie that corner in. We wouldn't have too much adding on the, walkway itself. Just make the step level. Have to do a little grading.
So I would think, the only, because that's one area, everywhere else, as long as you use a permeable paver of some sort, which should be, in the conditions.
That would be the same material.
That would be the same, okay, because that's now no structures there, so we don't want to make it more impervious than it is, so we're adding new hardscape.
I would note that they have an existing brick patio, and they plan to take that up, and they plan to replace that with a deck. The deck will be porous and permeable, and so, that's an improvement, from a conservation point of view. And that has a lot of area, and the area on that slope is not very extensive, so I think that's
Fair.
a good thing.
Fair point.
Yeah, I would agree, especially, if we are able to use some permeable pavers for that walkway, then that's going to actually, help that area as well. It's sort of a trade-off, in my opinion. And it will make that area a little bit safer for you guys to use. So, I mean, it is in close proximity to that 30-foot no-touch zone, but I think there are some trade-offs there that I'd be willing to work with.
So, Jim, is this whole thing going to be the deck now, right through here, or are these steps in here? I'm sorry.
Those in the corner are steps.
Okay.
That's that area up where the bush is,
It's not
Steve,
going to
that we were
flatten out.
talking
You get
about.
yourself a bigger deck?
The whole thing is driven by that severe grade that goes from the existing deck to the water. So, we basically have to fill in stuff with more material just because of that.
I wouldn't have a
This
problem.
is the deck line.
Oh, this is the whole deck line.
Just the one little bump out on the deck, so the steps can actually meet at the proper height.
Okay, so this is still going to be deck here. Okay.
Well, the stairs.
Yeah, there's
Three stairs in the
around
front.
stairs, yeah.
Yeah, this is 3 steps up to a little bump out on the
I
deck.
think that's deck, yeah.
Okay.
Just to make it make the grades
To
work
get back
out.
to the right place.
Get over that mound that they're.
Because this is pretty flat up here, so this will be deck up here too? Yeah. Where's that steps?
Yes.
This little block here, is that going to be deck? So the deck's going to come out here?
Yeah, I think that was going to be a straight line across with the stairs going down basically the whole face of it.
Follow all
Deck bumps
stairs.
out a
Yeah.
little bit.
Just here?
This is all steps. Just widen the whole area with steps.
I'm going to throw something out there, and you may throw me off the stage, but I wouldn't have a problem with letting them essentially have a larger deck area to put things on, like chairs and things. And where we're using, essentially the plastic material, it's 5/4 or so, but it's always moving in. I don't have a problem. But Jim, it's your design, but if you, honestly, I would say grab some more of that space, and that way you'll have a nice level area, and you can put some chairs in there, and you can utilize that better. Because it's permeable, you've already got something in here, and I don't have a problem at all. We're redoing this anyway, I would go and make a big, I know it's contrary to what we usually do, but in this particular case, you're making improvements here. This is all permeable. I don't have a problem with allowing him to have more space going into that 32-foot line, Jim. But that's your call. It's not me, but I would do it. I don't know.
Once it's a pretty good size chunk of deck, it's actually adding 4 feet
Yeah.
in depth, so the steps actually meet the front
I
of
think
that walkway.
the reason for the stairway is to accommodate his mobility issue.
Right. And I'm saying that you're going to have to, if you're looking for rails all the time, right?
Yeah, we have a double rail in there.
Yeah. And so in this particular case, if you move the steps over to here with a rail, you'd have a lot more usable space. But again, I'm not trying to design it for you. It's just that I think that if you can maximize it, there's a usable space, it's a value, It's like
We'll
always
take
in the
notes
house,
that you
it's never-
guys have that as an objective and see if we can perhaps lay it out a little differently and take advantage of that.
I'm just querying the crowd here, and that saying I wouldn't have a problem with that if you did something like that, Jim said something like that. But I think it adds a lot of value to his property, too.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to that, but I would like to see that on a plan and some more definitive information about what that was going to look like. So, I mean, were you planning on doing the construction this season, or were you going to wait till the spring?
I was hoping we would do it this season, but unfortunately, we got out-priorited in some of our equipment, so
Okay.
had to stand in line.
Okay. All right.
I might suggest that we take whatever vote we're going to take on the plan as proposed. The applicant can always consider that and come back for a field
Field
change.
change, or, yeah.
on it,
whatever.
just so we can move forward cleanly.
Yeah. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Any other questions or comments on the proposed? No? Okay. Then I would take a motion for a negative determination, but with one condition that the bricks that are being replaced are replaced with permeable pavers, and that the new steps be permeable pavers of some type to be identified.
I'll make that motion right after you ask for public comment.
Get your little sign. Is there any public comment?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, right on cue. Thank you, Richard. Okay.
Thanks very much.
Joe.
Appreciate your help.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'll take you up on that offer. I'll take you up on that offer for reading.
I believe that there.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We get two up there if you like.
I thought somebody said it was wired or something. Yeah. Shock.
Approved.
Okay, next hearing pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public meeting is to be held on a request for a determination of applicability for the addition of a carport within the buffer zone at 52 Pearl Street. Application by Scott Reinhardt. Application and supporting documents are available for review in the Conservation Commission's office, and also available to the public as a PDF, if so desired, by emailing the Commission office.
Good evening.
Good evening. Scott Reinhardt, 52 Pearl Street.
Thank you.
So I'm looking to add a carport a lot of you have already been out to view the property. It's going to be a 1.5, 2-car carport, 79 feet from the water. Water will be draining back into the soil, so it'll actually be taking off some rain that's right now on the driveway itself. The reason for this is to prevent my cars from receiving future damage from the lovely oak tree that's already done plenty of it.
Any more damage, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to commend you on the decision to put a carport instead of getting rid of the oak tree. So
Either one's acceptable to me at this point.
it's a beautiful tree.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of us were out there on the site on Saturday, and certainly the way he's proposed it, with the pitch of the roof coming back onto the lawn area, you're going to pick up some rain in that area, keep it off the driveway. It's really an area that's disturbed already, and I don't have any issue with it at all.
70 feet away from the water?
Yeah, 79 feet, I think you said, yeah. I was with Ken, and they said it's already fully paved. And
I mean, you're parking the cars there already, so it's really not an issue.
Any other questions from the commission or comments? Any comments from the public? Okay. Then I take a motion for a negative determination.
I'd make that a motion.
Second?
I second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Good meeting. Thank you, Richard. Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Next, pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public meeting on a request for a determination of applicability to determine if there are any wetland resource areas present at 425 West Townsend Road by Lee Cooper. Application and supporting documentations are available for review at the Commission office. Emailing a PDF is also an option on request by emailing the Commission office as well. Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper came to see me at the office for a piece of land that he just recently purchased. He is new to town and is looking at this piece of land to eventually maybe build something. He wanted to find out if there were any resource areas present, and I recommended that he file a request for a determination just to determine whether or not there were any resource areas present. So I did walk the property. There are no resource areas present on that lot. It is wetland free. It is resource area free. So my recommendation is for a negative determination of applicability.
Okay. Seems pretty straightforward. Any comments, questions from the commission?
No, I mean, I looked at the GIS, and there's certainly no DEP certified wetlands on there, and if Matt feels that there are no bylaw wetlands, then I'd be happy with that.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, just
Yes, sir.
a technical, I'm going to throw you here.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
If there are no wetlands, we have no jurisdiction over that.
He still has the right to file the determination.
He does, but do we have the right to vote?
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do.
We do not have jurisdiction.
All you're doing is certifying that there's no wetlands on the property.
Okay.
You're not certifying any boundaries, you're not certifying anything else. You're just simply saying, yep, there are no wetlands on the property. That's all this does.
Okay. I don't even know if would that require a vote? Usually you, Matt, don't you?
He filed the determination because he wasn't sure.
I think we should give him his money worth and vote.
Oh, I think so. I'm just asking a technical question.
I think we should vote.
Okay.
Yeah, no, fair question, okay.
I would make a motion to issue a negative determination.
I live across the street on 424.
Yes.
And I do have a right of way to the well on the property over there.
Okay.
That's
That has no bearing on this hearing.
Yeah, we got
that
it.
one whatsoever.
No.
No, no. Just because we're just determining whether or not there are wetlands that need protection, and the agent has visited the site and determined there are no wetlands. So to Mr. Abbott's point, if there's no wetlands, we don't have any jurisdiction anyway, so,
I would think a well issue would be Board of Health or...
yeah. Or
Well, the right-of-way would probably be the building inspector.
Building inspector, right. Or the owner. flowing. Okay, all in favor?
We don't have a second.
Oh, we didn't have
I made a motion.
You made a motion.
Second.
Can you make that motion again?
I would make a motion to issue a negative determination.
Thank you. Second?
Second?
Thank you, sir. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Moving along.
Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public meeting on a continued request for determination by Michael Tufts for the construction of a paver patio and 2 decks within the buffer zone at 48 Oak Ridge Road is to be considered. Application and supporting documents are available for review at the Commission office by calling the Commission office, and a PDF is also available as an option by requesting it by email at the Commission office. My recommendation on this, Mr. Chairman, is to continue to the 11-1 for the administrative, the 11-1 meeting for the administrative hearing. Mr. Tufts has been given formal notice of the meeting, and he's acknowledged such notice. And I am going to be meeting with him next week to discuss the issues and to work on reconstructing the file for a more clear timeline.
Okay. Okay, so the recommendation is to continue this until 11/1.
Just
Any comments? No? No. Then I'd take a motion to continue this hearing until 11/1.
So moved.
Second?
second.
Do I need a public comment on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Thank you.
There was one abstention, Matt. Did you get that?
Oh, one abstention.
Yep, I got it.
Got it. Good.
Last but not least, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public meeting on a continued notice of intent by Settler Solar for the construction of a 6-megawatt solar field within the buffer zone at 994 Northfield Road with a wetland crossing, filling and replication of 1,410 square feet originally proposed is to be heard. Application and supporting documents are available for review at the Conservation Commission office, and a PDF is also an option to the public by emailing a request to the office.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Allow me a second.
No problem.
Yeah, he's been very popular on TV. People are asking for his autographs now.
Well, apparently my plans aren't up to snuff according to that.
Here you go, Rob. Here's a good template for you. Look, he even put a drawing number on it. I mean, it was just really cool.
That's okay.
That's great, Scout project. So since our last meeting, we had some recommendations from the commission. We've also made some revisions according to, and my plans are put down. Some recommendations from the planning board. So the set you have in front of you now is current with both your commission and the planning board. Just to summarize the changes, and this covers really both boards. The layout of the driveway has been changed somewhat to move it further. As we come in from the clubhouse, we've shifted it further east, which actually follows the existing cart path, for a couple of reasons, to give more buffer to the neighbors, as well as we moved it further north as it then heads to the west down the hill. We've moved it enough to give a 200-foot strip of vegetation between the abutters that kind of stick up there in our driveway, and then the array is further in. And then further, as you go in further to the west and then south, where we show a large turnaround circle, not large, That's fairly new and slightly shifted and moved north again to give a larger strip of vegetation between the abutters in the project. So what you see, the dark green is all existing wooded area to remain wooded. The lighter green, kind of inside the darker, is what we're calling, in the southern portion is a stump zone, and then up to the north on both sides also. And what that is where we're taking down trees but leaving stumps. We're not clearing and grubbing, we're just taking the trees. The thought there is that the stumps will eventually revegetate, sprout saplings, and we'll get growth, and it'll eventually reforest. Inside that zone, in addition to leaving the stumps, we're also proposing to transplant trees from within the array where they'd otherwise come down. So we're looking at deciduous trees up to 4 inches, 15 to 20 foot height. We're going to transplant that whole area along the southern boundary of the project. So that's something new we've included, and will obviously be of some benefit. We're saving trees and just relocating them. In addition to that, from commentary at the last meeting here, you can see the purple in several areas around the fence line on the outer part of the array. We're incorporating pollinator seed mix in those zones. It's actually up over an acre of area that we're proposing. So that was an addition. And then those are the biggest changes. One other thing that was requested was that we send the revised submittal to DEP, which we did. And we were seeking out comments from DEP on their original comments, which I guess is not standard protocol. Typically, they don't make a second review, so I wasn't aware of that. But I talked to Judith Schmitz anyway, and she did actually come back with a couple of comments. She appreciated us moving the driveway out of the wetlands.
I actually did forward all the comments to the commission, so.
Oh, okay, so you've seen them. One of the things she mentioned was topsoil in the area and establishing meadow. We're not proposing to add topsoil, but I did do several rounds of testing at all of my detention basin locations. Granted, that's isolated, but what I found was existing, there's anywhere from 4 to 12 inches of topsoil. In average, it's in that 6-inch range. So we don't anticipate any real problem there. Again, Nexamp's experiences that with this seed mix, they have very good luck with it. So that's our goal here. One of her other comments was regarding the drip edge along the panels, and the panels running perpendicular to the slope. While we've talked about that, I talked to Nexamp a little bit more about it and their experience with it. And again, they have pretty good experience on this type of site. But what does happen if they do run into problems, typically it would be while it was vegetating initially, and during their inspections, if they find areas that need to be addressed, one of the things they can do, and they have really good luck with, is jute mesh, and basically a thin strip of jute mesh in the area where you're seeing some erosion under the panels, additional loam if necessary, and reseed it. And that usually takes care of the problem. I think that was the...
Is that included down in your notes?
It's not.
Can you include it in your notes?
We could certainly include it in the notes. I mean, we were hoping to, obviously, we're hoping to get this wrapped up.
Yep.
We can certainly include that as a condition. It's up to the commission.
Yeah, I would have thought that a condition would be sufficient. Is that what you're feeling, Matt? Because I think
It
it's
should be
important.
sufficient.
Yeah.
And I think that addressed everything Judith had as far as secondary comments. So we're pretty comfortable with where things stand right now. I think we've addressed hopefully all of your comments. At the same time, we think we've addressed all the planning board's comments as well. So we hope to be in good standing at this point.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if I could. When I had a chance to watch the planning board meeting, obviously there's a question of fire suppression, but that's up to you guys to resolve. But the concept came up that, look, these panels are great. They aren't generating carbon dioxide, but they are not generating oxygen. Mm-hmm. And the question became, why are we doing everything we possibly can to minimize the reduction of the trees and the brush? And so my question came back, so why are we taking down, if it's vegetation to the north, why are we doing that? And another question that came up, whether it's that meeting or another one, is, are you adding panels over what you originally suggested?
Okay, I'll answer that first.
Okay.
Originally, the original submittal was a 5.9 megawatt.
Right.
With the rearranging of panels to get more buffer strip area, we're at 5.8 megawatts. So
Okay.
whether the number of panels is less, okay. So we have less panels, generating slightly less. As far as the clearing, in fact, part of the submittal was a shading plan. And essentially what the shading plan shows is we are only clearing as much as we absolutely need to prevent the shading that would otherwise impact the operation of the system.
Yeah.
Even to the north, there's some clearing required for the shading.
In the fall zone.
Oh, and there's a fall zone, I'm sorry, that's 70, right, we look at a 70-foot fall zone, or trees 70-foot height. So to answer your question, yes, we feel we've done everything to minimize the clearing. And on top of that, as part of that concern, transplanting trees in that stump zone is obviously, while we're clearing it to start, it will revegetate. You won't get those full-size trees that'll impact the operation of the system, but they are revegetating. And once the system, if it goes 20, 30 years or more, eventually, once it's done, those trees have already gotten a great start.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused on the color coding.
Sure.
Can you show where the trees are going to be transplanted, where they're going to go to?
Yeah, it's all in this zone right here.
In there, okay, great. And the little darker green, what is that?
This darker green?
Yes.
This is the meadow grasses. So wherever you see that, the kind of in-between green color, that's all meadow grasses.
Meadow grass, okay.
This is stump zone where we've cut trees but left them, and then this is stump zone where we're transplanting as well.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
I don't have any other questions. I think, as far as I'm concerned, the issues that we had or I had have been addressed. I appreciate you adding the pollinator mix in there. I think that'll,
There
make
was
the project a
one
little bit
other
better.
thing, construction phasing schedule.
Oh, right.
Because that was requested from us at the last meeting.
We can certainly provide it. Construction phasing is basically, we'd be, as you mentioned, we'd be looking to get the drainage in first, get it stabilized, in any normal size project like this. If we could provide that as a condition, we'd be happy to do that.
Depends on how the commission would feel about that.
When do you think it would be available?
We can get it in very shortly.
The only question I had with the phasing, Matt, and the clearing of the land, what was proposed, I'm sure it's on here, I'm sure you have a note, but for erosion protection during land clearing?
If I may,
Sure.
On the last point, we can get construction phasing permission tomorrow. I apologize, we didn't have that on our list of notes from the previous meeting. So that was the one.
Okay, all right, that's good. Because I presume we would sign this at our next meeting anyway?
Yes.
So we'd have that before we signed on that?
Yes.
As far as I'm sorry, now I forgot your question.
Erosion protection during grading, clearing and grading before.
There's a whole sheet devoted to erosion control.
Okay.
So we have all the notes. There's pre-construction requirements. It's quite thorough.
Well, if I can add to that, so in addition to what's being shown, it's like part of the application, that's essentially the perimeter thing to protect the wetlands, which again is a purview. But in addition to that, we'll be found the stormwater prevention plan with the EPA from the NIPDES program, and that will show interim stages in between, across the site. This is a large site, so it's just perimeter control, intermediate control.
Perfect.
That's where all that information shows.
Okay, all right. So that will
Take
be,
the contractor
okay.
and partner with them to figure that out.
Yeah, that satisfies my question. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission?
Mr. Chairman, we've seen this plan now. This is like the third or fourth iteration, and I think they've addressed our comments, and I have no more questions.
Okay, good. Richard, anything from your end?
Rich?
Yeah, my only concern with the scheduling, I just want to make sure that the applicant is aware if we're not happy with the schedule they present after we've closed the hearing and write our own, they don't really have much of a recourse in that. That's my only concern with closing the hearing prematurely. And at the last meeting, we did ask about their planned start date. They were talking about first or second quarter of 2018 starting the work. So I'm not sure what the push is to get it done right away or get it done at this meeting.
Can we help and answer some questions regarding the schedule?
Well, I think having the schedule and be able to review it is what Mr. Birch is concerned about. And I guess what is pushing it that, I mean, if we got the schedule tomorrow, we're not going to sign it off until the next meeting, which is in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We could continue till then, have the papers all ready to sign and review the schedule and still have it signed on the same date.
I understand the concern with if the construction sequencing isn't, you feel up to snuff. We're under a time constraint with there's other things going on, and we'd actually really, we'd prefer to close it if we could, without, respectfully. And given that we have 2 weeks before the next meeting, we could certainly do some back and forth if we had to on the construction sequence. So I understand the concern, but it's at this point, it's something we'll just have to work with.
So what would be impacted if we didn't finish this all off until the next meeting?
They could miss a window of opportunity for the project at another level, not with the state and other permits involved.
Why is that if we're not going to sign it to the next meeting anyway? I'm missing something here.
Essentially, the order of conditions either way will be, assuming it's forthcoming, would be 2 weeks out. So whether they close tonight or close at the next hearing, we're getting the same timeline in the end.
And that's the way it's always been routinely done here. The commission would issue an order, the commission would close a hearing, make a motion to an approval, and then based on what their motion is, I have to go back and get all the legal documents ready and write up the permit for them to sign off on, and it's signed off at the next meeting. And in the almost 20 years I've been here, that's how they've done it. Now, what they're offering to do is if they don't close the hearing, and in between the 2 weeks, basically Rob can send me the construction phasing schedule. I work on it with Rob, I can work on it with the chairman, make sure everything is up to snuff, get the order of conditions ready for the next meeting anyway, and if everything is all set with the construction phasing schedule, they close it out, because the construction phasing schedule will be referenced on the order and then attached. So once everything is done and agreed to, you come back at the next meeting, it would still be signed off anyway. They would simply close the hearing, make the motion, and issue the order all at the same time.
If we
do that for you.
It's my understanding, am I correct, that if we close the hearing, then we couldn't have any back and forth with the applicant over the construction thing at the next meeting, and so if we didn't like it, he'd be out of luck? Am I correct in my understanding, or?
Essentially, you wouldn't be able to have back and forth with the applicant. The only thing you could do is debate the merits of the order yourself at the next meeting.
Yeah.
It's a lot cleaner if we can just do it all at the next meeting and have the discussion.
Is your intent, if everything is to your satisfaction during the week, that you will?
It's the only issue we got left.
The only, I mean, I think we're basically saying that everything is okay, that we don't have the schedule. So the schedule would be the only thing that would be the subject of any discussion in 2 weeks, but hopefully that discussion would happen during the course of the 2 weeks between, the agent and our chairman.
May I ask?
Yes, please.
Would it be possible to have a vote of approval tonight contingent upon an agreeable schedule at the next meeting?
Fair question.
I don't have an issue with that either.
Richard, do you have a comment on that? It's just an area I'm not familiar with.
Scenario again, I didn't quite get it all.
The request was if, could we approve it tonight contingent upon receiving an acceptable schedule?
Nothing can happen.
Well, again, if it's not a schedule that we're happy with, I mean, we're just gonna put a schedule in the order of conditions. Once the hearing's closed, the date and the information provided from the applicant kind of ends at that point. So there's no back and forth. Once we've approved it, we issue our order of conditions, either with their schedule or with our schedule. If they're not happy with the schedule we put forth, then they're kind of stuck.
Yeah, I guess I'm not understanding all the things on your end. It seems to me that, once we close the hearing, then things become more complex and more cumbersome. So it would be much more simple to just leave the hearing open with the schedule being the open item.
My recommendation at this point would be to leave it open so that we can get the schedule, again, this is a 36-acre land clearing they're doing on the hillside that all drains down into a cold water fishery. There are definitely a lot of concerns here, and if not scheduled properly now, it could be a lot of problems moving forward. I know that Rob spoke with Judy, and Matt also spoke with Judy, and she has seen the best and worst of these projects, so she said to make sure that it is scheduled properly. I'll make sure that all of the drainage is in place, make sure all the drainage is stabilized, make sure the clearing, our schedule of having the engineer go out on site, making sure what kind of schedule we want to set in place for monitoring.
Yeah, the more Richard talks, the more, at least I, as a member, are in favor of continuing the hearing. I mean, I understand it fell in a crack, and it's wasn't intentional on your part, but we did request the schedule as part of what we needed to complete the hearing.
Is it possible to discuss what some of the concerns are relative to the schedule and maybe do this real time so we at least know we're in the ballpark?
As far as I'm concerned, I haven't seen any schedule, so I wouldn't be comfortable discussing it. I mean, I haven't seen what you've got proposed, so I don't know.
I haven't seen how that I'm asking if you could discuss it real time.
I mean, you can certainly present it real time, but I haven't seen anything, I'm not familiar with it, and it'd be hard to discuss something that just gets told to us tonight verbally.
Yeah.
That's why we wanted it.
What can the Conservation Commission typically look for in a schedule to satisfy the concerns we have?
Fair enough. Richard, maybe could you help us there? You seem to have done the most detailed thinking about this. You were able to hear the questions?
I did not hear that last question, no.
I was just saying that it would be useful for us as Nexamp to know what the Conservation Commission typically looks for in a construction schedule to satisfy your typical Concom purview sort of concerns so that we're sure to address those.
I'm speaking just solely from myself and not the other members. My biggest concern is making sure that the drainage and the stormwater structures are in place and are functioning prior to clearing of the lot, putting in the roadway, the final roadway, doing all of the gradient construction. It's a little hard to put a stormwater system in place while you're doing all of that upgrading construction. So there should be some sort of scheduling of the drainage. The basins will be put in, minimal clearing is done, they're stabilized, and then start moving forward with the up-gradient drainage structures installation. And then after that's stabilized, then of course the installation of the panels and the system itself. Again, and that's just general, but I'm sure we're not the first people to ask for some sort of scheduling of events.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask you another question?
Mr.
Okay, I'm interested to understand if we're going to deliver the package to you, and we're going to do some advance work, you get it in 2 weeks. If you're asking us to vote now, you're still going to get that package in 2 weeks, you know? So you're not really gaining anything. So why the interest in the need to have us vote right now? I guess I don't understand that. I'd rather, like Rich saying, there's a sequence that we do look for. You know, we all have our particular interests. You know, I want to know when you're going to have the material on the surface such that it doesn't erode. You know, I mean, those kinds of things, slope stabilized. And you kind of have to spend a little time drawing it out and looking for links in that when we're going through the schedule. So I would like to have a little time to do that, and I don't view it as having an impact on when you would receive the final approval unless I'm missing something, and I would like to hear what it might be that I'm missing here.
No, I think with your agreement to potentially sign the order next week, it's essentially the same difference. I think it's valid to try and have a discussion to find out what your concerns are about these issues.
Well, definitely.
Okay.
I'm also deferring to the NIPD's Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan directed by the EPA, which addresses many or most of these concerns as far as the interim construction of the upgrading items that were referenced by the chairman. I mean, those are issues that get resolved with the contractor a little bit down the road. When we hire a contractor, we work through that product, and we submit the product to you before construction, but it's involved with a contractor at a later date. It's another element of stormwater prevention. So that part of it is really not germane, I think, to where we're at as we speak. We'll absolutely show you a sequence of events, but a lot of those interim things actually do come later under that other product that you in fact do see, but it's not really subject to your review, I guess I might say.
So one thing might be good to see on the schedule would be the preparation and submittal of that document, for sure.
Trying to find out all the things that you are looking for so we can get them there, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that's really my main concern, that delaying this 2 weeks doesn't make much difference from where we're at.
Right, I don't think it's a delay.
Yeah. And it is the intention, sense of the commission, unless there's something with the schedule to
You guys
sign it off.
Rich needs you to speak up. You're speaking too low.
So if we could get it quickly, then we can work on it this coming week, and then you'll sleep well, and we'll all sleep well, and we'll come in here and sign some documents on 2 weeks from now.
Could we gain an understanding of a format you'd expect to see? I'm thinking a conceptual level schedule where it's a bullet list of, you know, we're not going to have it nailed down to the day, but a sequence of events style.
Some sort of Gantt chart?
Yeah, I think.
A Gantt chart?
A Gantt chart?
Really well for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but that's the sequence, you know, we say, I don't think we're looking for what days things happen, but what sequence things happen, so we know these things happen before that.
I think, Carl, you had a good point, you know, on that sequence. Certainly the NIPD's permitting process would be important to see on that schedule, as far as I'm concerned, because I think you're right, you know, that is going to be a big part of it.
It sounds like a lot of it's in there.
Yeah.
So.
It does.
Right.
Yeah.
Once we partner with the contractor, we learn how they're going to attack this site.
Yeah.
It's not always what we think.
Right.
Your board, it's really up to them.
And then we'll have a good sense of how far downstream you'll be before we get to see that level of documentation.
Right.
And so you're looking at, with a good Gantt chart, you know when an event stops, and that allows the next event to continue, right, to initiate, so.
I'm not wedded to a Gantt chart, you know, so we're more looking for a sequence of events, you know, just speaking for myself.
Well, I mean, basically, we could do it similar to 101 Pleasant Street. In other words, step one, we have a construction schedule. We have standards in there to be met. When those standards are met, you go on to step two, or phase two, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Again, I personally would look, and Richard, you can chime in, I think the sequence of events, what things gate what things, and what things you'll complete before something else starts. So some phasing of the project. You know, if you can put it in time relative to, you know, year or season or something would be helpful, because we're clearly interested in, you know, rain events and those kinds of things. But personally, I don't need anything more accurate than, you know, what time of year is it going to be, and what's going to get completed before the next thing starts.
And thank you for bearing with
Yeah,
us.
just like Matt was saying, similar to how we did it at 101.
Right.
Have the detention basins built, have the detention basins stabilized, then once that's done, then what's the next step they need to have? Do they need the roadways put in, and the erosion protection around those, and the trees come down, and the drainage gets put in, stabilize that? Are they clearing the whole 36 acres in one fell swoop? Are they doing it in sections to allow areas to stabilize before they go up to the next? You know, there's just questions involved in how they're moving forward with it. That's all.
Right. What's going on in parallel, what's sequenced?
Yeah, I was just going to say thanks for bearing with us because this is a level of detail that's certainly above and beyond, you know, the many other Concons we've been before, which is probably why we didn't note it at the last meeting even. That was discussed, all of you, we took down a lot of notes about pollinator species and other concerns. You know,
Get that right.
I didn't get anything on schedule, so hence, you know, here we are.
Yeah.
But that sounds like something that we can provide very quickly.
Okay, yeah. I'll bet you have it built already.
that-
I'm betting you have it built already, it's just that we hadn't seen it.
In our heads, yeah. Again, this is typically, that level of detail is typically, as Alan was saying, at the NIPD's phase, but it's something we can pull together quickly.
Okay. Yeah, and again, if you work with Matt over this, coming week, it'll be done by when we meet again.
Great.
Just, I'm sorry, I have a question for you. Just general, do we anticipate everybody being here? I worry about quorums and things like that, putting off timelines after these kinds of discussions, so.
Reasonable question. We have a full commission now, so we have a better shot at it. Thank you.
And we can vote remotely as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I certainly have no intention of not being here at the
Okay.
next meeting.
Just-
I don't have any prior engagements or anything like that.
Just had to ask.
Yeah.
But no, it's a good question, though, because,
Fair question.
even though we plan to be here, I think your point, personally, since this commitment's been made, I would call in. If for some reason I
We'll
can't
find a way, is
physically
what you're
be
telling me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We have the 4 people sitting here, that's the, Well, that's a good question, it is, especially coming up this time of year.
here. Okay.
At the last meeting, the notion of possibly placing a conservation restriction
Thank you.
on the balance of the property came.
Oh, yes.
And I've talked it over with my wife and my partner, and looking at the land and what we're trying to accomplish here. I think it sends a positive message, message if we do something of that nature. Our whole goal in pursuing the solar field was to preserve the balance of the property to the best of our ability, as open space, recreation space, and what have you. And at the last meeting, Chairman Bursch asked if we would be willing to place a conservation restriction on the balance of Lot 1A, which is the area in Lot 1A north of the solar field to the property line. We have come up with a drawing that shows what this would be. And it would be from just outside of the fence of the solar farm all the way to the back of this lot. It contains 39.1 acres. And we are prepared to grant a conservation restriction on that lot, saving unto ourselves only the right to use that property for passive and active recreation purposes, including possibly 1 or 2 golf holes in here at some point in the future if we were to decide to expand the course to an 18-hole course on other property that we own. My 5-year plan going forward does not include that, I can tell you that. But I think what it does is it shows these people who live over here, that this will always be an open space area, a conservation area. And it will provide additional buffer from any additional development, no buildings, no structures, no more solar panels, for conservation purposes and passive recreational. And we will be prepared to work with the town council, whoever, on the drafting of that restriction. And you have our commitment that we will execute.
Thank you very much. That's very generous and greatly appreciated, Bill. Thank you. Outstanding. Good for you. Any other comments, discussion? With your permission,
We'd request that you continue 2 weeks.
Thank you very much. So take a motion to continue this hearing for 2 weeks till November 1st.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. See you in 2 weeks.
I abstain.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much. Thank you. We're almost there.
Okay, so that's the remainder of Lot 1A, right?
Thank you, Bill. This is a good night.
That was the last formal hearing.
I know, but it's open. It's protected.
Oh, do we, I believe do we need public comment? We all fell asleep on me.
It was implied.
Thank you. I know you didn't fall asleep. He was there, but
There was no vote.
got me some slack. Thank you. We're done the formal hearings. A number of people in the audience who are probably down here. Matt, is there a way to structure the rest of our meeting tonight to take into consideration the people who have been sitting here for quite a while?
What are you guys here for?
Suppose I'm violating, got a letter,
Which address?
168 West Street.
Okay.
Can I see that letter for a second?
Sure. I'm a teacher, I have a parent conference at 7 o'clock.
All right, well,
Oh, no. We got some homework to do. Have a seat then there.
Yep.
Okay. So let's take this up. What's the
I guess I'd like to know
issue?
what you think.
Well, it's not what I think, it's what
No,
I
no,
know.
no, what you're stating, the
Essentially,
violation.
What's happening is, your house is in the middle of having work done to it. I'm assuming it's being rebuilt?
No?
Okay. Well, anyway, I walked around based on a complaint I received on bulldozer activity on the property.
Okay. My garden, which I've been working on.
Well, I'm aware of the garden's not the issue. The
Yeah,
issue
but that's where
is...
the bulldozer was
The
working.
issue is the bulldozer also went around to a path that's established right by the river and took some stone, took some fill, and did some repair work over there.
No, the bulldozer didn't do
Well-
anything. So, yeah, so what happened is 2.5 weeks ago, a tree fell, and we use wood for burning, and so that was rather than cut it back there, I thought, because I had just done work on the garden, that's what the bulldozer was on my property for.
Can I, before I get in more trouble?
Yep.
Did you introduce yourself?
I'm
and
sorry,
name and
I'm
address?
Barbara Battle, my husband Michael, we're the owners of 168 West Street.
Thank you.
The bulldozer is a bit, mini excavator, yeah, it's a mini. I'll refer to it as the mini from now on. I borrowed it from a friend so that I could dig for posts around my garden, which is totally nowhere near the creek.
No, you're out of jurisdiction with that. It
Yeah,
wasn't that, it
yeah.
was the area
Right.
around the
So
creek.
but that's what I borrowed it for. And it was really rainy that day, but I got done what I was doing, and I looked at my watch, and I said, oh, I got like 15 minutes left, before I need to, because I'm on a soccer ref also, and I needed to get to that. And I said, oh, that tree that fell, it just, popped into my head. And I said, let me just see if I can drag it up to the house so that we don't have to use the chainsaw back by the creek. I actually am very much a nature lover, just to give some background on myself. I taught high school for 10 years in Maryland. We moved here 10 years ago. I homeschooled and stayed home with my kids for 20 years, and I just returned to work last year teaching high school Spanish at Air Shirley High School. My kids have gone to Lunenburg. I have one graduate from there at Fitchburg State right now, and 2 kids who have been students at Lunenburg but went to Air with me this year since I'm teaching there. It was just much easier for our family. So anyway, so I borrowed the bulldozer. The bulldozer, the mini, yes, the mini, only turns to the right. And so, and because the ground was wet back there, as soon as I got back there, I was like, oh no, I shouldn't even be back here. The tree moving did not work.
Okay, I mean, I understand. If I
so-
could make a suggestion, not to interrupt you, I
Sure.
apologize. Why don't we add it to our site inspection list for the 28th? We could take a quick look at it and confirm
I'll
that
be
it was
happy
only a
to
tree.
walk back there with you and show you exactly what
Because
happened.
I saw what looked like part of a stone wall area that had been put back up, and that could be possible when you pulled the tree out. You had to straighten
The
everything out.
stones that are back there had been there like the whole time we've lived there.
So the mini we did trying to get it out, it got it out.
I have to go back there, actually, I'm gonna go back with a hand rake and rake it all nice again, because, so I was gonna tell you, just briefly, I'm part of a Pathfinder Club, which is kind of like the Scouts, but it's a co-educational thing. I do classes on animal tracking, and I've done winter camping, I mean, we've done feeding stations, taught kids about nature. That would totally not be my thing to ruin. The reason that I purchased this property is because it is what it is, and I like it. I mean, I have film of the beavers, and I have, pictures of like 30 different birds that I've watched. But I mean, I love it for that, so I would not want to do anything to destroy it. I teach other people not to destroy it, so I would not, that is not in my purpose at all. That would be nice. No, and I know the town was just, because we are just right past that little creek there, the bridge, I know the town is there twice a year at least cleaning out, to try and protect that area, and I agree with all of that, so.
Well, I mean,
And regarding the house, it does look like it needs a lot of work. And we've lived in it like that for 10 years, and if money was not the object, we would have. But we would come here because we know that, especially on the side that I would like to add in some place in the future, will, maybe fall within your.
Well, we can talk about that while we're there.
out there.
And I'd be happy. I mean, that's.
Well, that's why I sent you a non-compliance letter instead of an enforcement order with a fine, because
Right,
I knew there
I
was
was like,
probably more to the
well,
story.
Yeah.
And usually when I know there's more to the story, I send out the letter saying, hey, this is what I spotted, come to the meeting, we'll talk.
Sure. And like I said,
So the 28th?
28th is-
The morning of the 28th.
is that Saturday?
It's a Saturday morning, yeah.
Yeah, we
It's
usually go
not
to,
this Saturday, it's next
we usually
Saturday.
go to church on Saturday. What time?
It'll be in the morning.
Early? Yeah. Usually I go to church like at 9. But we'll make it work. Okay, all right, we'll make it work. All right. 28th.
We usually start our site visits at 8. I mean, I don't see a reason we couldn't make that our first stop.
That would be awesome.
All right, 8 o'clock?
We'll be up and ready. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah. And by the way, if you get a problem with the beavers, believe it or not, Board of Health, just go.
Well, that and a 22.
By the bridge,
So far, they haven't bothered me.
Sure. Yeah, during trapping season, that's not a problem.
Okay.
I guess they had to take that down. Some of the problems.
Yeah. If your septic system's in danger, you,
Yeah, no, we have, that's neat. We have town water and town sewer and
that'll be tough to prove the septic system, yeah.
That's right.
It makes sense, because I know some of the people on the street have septic and I smell it every now and then.
Oh, if you flood it, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you on the 28th.
The 28th.
Certificate of compliance.
Guys are here for,
The certificate? Yeah. So can we skip down to there? 899 Flat Hill Road.
sign,
Which certificate of compliance is
899 Flat Hill.
Flat Hill.
I believe we all went out and looked at it.
This is the one on Lake Shirley, right in the corner.
Right on the corner of Spring
There were some
Street.
changes, there's kind of a tough septic system that was put in, and they had made some changes as requested.
This is the certificate of compliance. We had reviewed the letter by Ducharme and Dillis on site.
I don't remember that, but I don't remember a couple of things.
Huh?
Oh, okay.
This is
Compliance, I'm sorry.
But what was it just?
We did stop, some of us stopped
Yeah, we stopped
on
by-
Saturday
Right.
after our site visits, after you left. You know, it looks like, from what I recall of the plans, it looks like it was done to plan. It was certified by the engineer that it was done to plan. I think we have an as-built, so I'm satisfied with it. I don't know.
Where we sign?
Yeah, remember
Yeah.
that little twist here.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, it all looked correct, I just didn't remember seeing this in this letter. Yeah. See the letter? So, with any discussion, I would take a motion.
Do we need to vote on it, or we just need
Yeah,
to
we don't
sign it?
vote on certs, right?
No,
We'll
we just
sign
need to
it.
sign it.
Just need to sign it.
Let's sign it.
No, the certs, no, you do need to vote on them. You've always voted on them.
On certificate of compliance?
You make me miss my planning board days. This is all coming back to me now. Hours of meetings.
That means a little shiver in us.
Have we ever voted on a certificate of compliance?
No, we're not gonna either.
No. He just signed it. He just signed it. He's just rattling the machine.
Did you want to look at that, Bob?
Go ahead.
Here, say, you need another pen?
Don't get grouchy.
My laser pointer. So it came out well, though. Nice job. It's a tough spot. Does that fan run continuously?
When that comes around, catch it, yes.
Yeah. And you guys have sold the place?
We did. We had a closing yesterday.
Great.
There's a lot of activity on my way over here
It
tonight.
was contingent
you go,
upon,
Matt.
we're 3 miles away in Shirley, but it's...
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
neat.
it's-
Great. Great. Hate to lose you from the area completely.
No,
Hey, Matt, oh, there you go. You're Matt.
and I promised myself I will not volunteer for any boards in the town of Shirley.
Good for you.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't believe you. Did you guys own the house when the car drove through it?
Yes,
I was there, that was a long time ago.
97. We were in the house 2 years. We had said to the realtor when we were buying, did I have a problem with this corner? No.
I'm on the fire department. I remember that from
15-year-old
years and years
girl.
ago.
Driving her father home from a Christmas party.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
familiar.
he was in the passenger seat, blotto, and she didn't,
Yeah.
she got to the corner and panicked, and she thought she was stepping on a brake. She didn't know how to
my
drive the
gosh.
car. And she stepped on the clutch. And just,
Thus the boulders are there now.
that's the powers of Satan.
All right, great.
Thank you very
Great.
much.
Yeah, it's
guys.
good to see you.
Night now.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
It was very nice of you to say, thank you.
You too.
Make sure you get that recorded and give me the recording information.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I will. All right, thanks.
Good night. Okay. Back up to the top of violations, enforcement actions, and fines. 183 Hemlock, update.
I received a construction schedule from Mr. Thomas. I've been out on the property. His schedule's reasonable. Essentially, he's going to start doing the wall in the proper place over the winter, once the lake's down. When the frost starts to get in the ground, he'll stop, he'll resume everything again in the spring. He's cleaned up most of the area. The metal shed was getting ready to go. I gotta go down next week and see if it's gone. But he had informed me. So we're keeping in touch by email and site visit, and he's been very proactive now in getting stuff done.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, My only question is how, just to avoid any question, how do we, is it staked off where this wall's going to go? Because when I go down there and look at it, I can't tell,
What you can see,
erosion, there's
now
all
that
kinds
he's
of things
removed
going
it,
on, right?
now that he's removed it, what you can see is the footing for the former wall.
In a small section of it, but not...
You can see it in the front now. You could see it on the side at one point, but
Yeah.
now that he's removed the wall, you can see it on the front going in. So he's going to put the other wall behind that. So in a sense, he's actually losing a little land.
Okay, so is he going to stake off where the wall's going to go or something so that...
I can have him do that.
Yeah. Can we get some measures from like the corner of the house or the edge of the house?
Yeah, I mean, there should be some...
So therefore, we can measure it from
Reference.
a point that doesn't move.
Right.
I can have him do that.
Okay. You're figuring out your septic system, you know?
Yeah.
You take corners and...
Right. Where's he going to run a line? He's going to build this wall, he's going to have a line. Okay. Any other comments on 183 Hemlock from the commission? No? Okay.
Good progress, Matt.
70 Oak Ridge Road.
You guys probably saw the report I sent you guys last week, which I'm, doing weekly. I went up this evening, took some photos of the site. The site is still out of compliance. I requested that, silt fence be put back up. The stuff that's still down is still down, and there is more film now spilling over into the 50-foot no-touch zone. And it's threatening the silt fence that's there. So I know, Carl, you and I spoke about it briefly, and I've spoken to the chair about it, and we just basically issue a stop work order at this point.
It makes sense to me because we've been waiting quite a while for the rest of the plan as well on the...
Well, I did speak to Andrew Leonard. He is working on the plan. He's just got a lot of work in front of him.
Is he the landscaper?
He's the landscape architect.
Okay.
Now, were they invited to come tonight?
No. I just keep it on the agenda to inform you guys as to what I'm doing.
No, I'm just understanding that if we're going to initiate a stop work, you are inflicting essentially a penalty on them. Were they aware of that?
They will be tomorrow morning.
I don't think they need to
think
be at a
this-
hearing to issue a stop work.
I think
No, you don't.
the subtlety was there was a cease and desist issued, but they were allowed to proceed with the foundation.
Right, because that's
The
what...
foundation digging that is now piled up, that has really overflowed into the 50
So it's
foot.
violated that piece.
So
Okay.
even that piece isn't...
We could actually initiate a fine right away then.
Matt, did
That's up
the
to-
former pay the original fine that you issued him?
Nope.
And what was the date that Jamie was in and told us he was going to get us the landscape plan? Do you have that, Andy?
August 2nd.
October 2nd. So
No.
so basically 2.5 months ago, he told us we were supposed to have this plan in hand, right?
That's correct.
Okay, okay. Then I myself have no issues with giving a stop work order. Just be specific on what needs to be done prior to it being lifted, so there's no questions.
Good, yeah, good point.
Okay, well, before I send out the stop work order, I'll send a copy to you, the vice chair, and the clerk, which would be you, Todd, and Carl, for review. Does that sound good, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, we should come up with a few points tonight when we're issuing the stop work order on what needs to happen prior to it being lifted again. I think we've been very lenient with them moving forward. We've given them a lot of leeway when Jamie came in to keep the project moving. It's not our fault that the contractor walked off the site for 2 months. We've given them the benefit of the doubt, and they're not showing us any respect for giving them that. So I have no problems with stopping all work until we get this back in line and everybody's on the same page.
Well, I mean, my take on it would be that, the work order, the cease and desist order would be lifted once the piles in the front of the 50-foot no-touch zone were moved out, the silt fence was restored, and the grading plan was submitted at this point. Submitted and approved.
And there definitely needs to be a meeting on site so that everybody's on the same page. I'm not sure why Matt Bonnier is in your office, but his contractor's out doing something else.
Yeah, I guess the other, I mean, I think at a minimum what you said, Matt, but I think we should go further, and that we should have a comprehensive plan that addresses the 3 violations that we were promised back on August 2nd, which is the wall, the vegetation, trees, and the grading. And on the second, at least as from my personal opinion, the ability to continue work on the foundation was based on the commitment that the wall would be consistent with the pre-existing wall in size, shape, and location. They've now gone in and done some work on the wall, but it's still not in the right place, and it's still not the right length. So even that piece of it that we were committed hasn't been done.
Well, and the other thing that bothers me, Carl, to your point is they took the blocks from the wall that were too high and placed them between the wall and the lake. Which leads me to believe that they have no intentions of removing those blocks from the site. We're pretty specific with Jamie that any future development within the buffer zone would need its own filing, but they're stockpiling those blocks to the point that they may not be able to get them out once the foundation is in place. So I think that they're kind of putting the cart before the horse, thinking that they're going to stage those there and use those later on down the road.
Yeah, I agree, Richard, and for the same reason of you moving those blocks, I'm concerned about them getting access to the front once they've got the foundation, once that whole thing is done, because when I talked to, when Matt and I went down and talked to, is it the owner or the contractor?
It was Matt Fournier.
Yeah, okay.
And the contractor.
He said, oh yeah, no, we can bring big equipment down here over there, and when I look over there, it's a pretty steep drive, and the next thing I know, we're going to have, erosion and damage over there. So, but the biggest thing to me is they seem to think they're done with the wall, and the wall, even per the plans that we received, the as-built, the wall is 2.5 feet closer to the lake than the original wall, and they don't seem to be taking any action or show any interest in really doing what Jamie committed, which was the wall be where it was and the size it was. It's still longer than it was as well. So I'm not seeing a lot of, movement in the direction that commitments have been made. And I agree with you. I suspect, and Matt, maybe you could just clarify this. Maybe I'm just seeing things that don't exist, but I get the sense that part of what's holding up this whole thing is they're going to come back in here with new work, replacing the wall on the lake, as part of this NOI, and my understanding was, as Rich just said, at least what I thought I heard Rich say, that additional work is a separate filing. It's not a field change or a modification to go build to now go work in the 50-foot zone, or 30-foot.
Yes, you're right, Carl. I mean, I was pretty specific with Jamie when he was in August that I didn't even feel comfortable leaving that wall in place without a new filing, because they weren't supposed to have any work within the 50-foot. They were going to come back and refile for all of that.
Right.
So any work beyond replacing the wall that they damaged when they were drilling the well, at least in my opinion, needs to have a brand new filing for it. There's no amendment, there's no let's just tack it on with this. It's a whole new filing and a whole new process.
Right. I agree, and I hope they understand that, but I get the sense that they don't, and that that's what's holding up the plans that we haven't gotten over 2 months. So anyway, Matt, if you could, relay that to the owner or applicant.
Will be the owner, and yeah, I mean, it'd have to be done in the form of an administrative notice.
Okay. Anything else on 70 Oak Ridge? No? Okay. 571 Chase Road?
At a previous meeting, I was asked to check on the prior filing that they had in relation to the spill. I sent out some updated release tracking information, which I got off of DEP. And essentially that work was completed and done. So that file is considered closed. And as I updated you all this past week, the owners of 571 Chase Road sent me a letter outlining the fact that they were going to clean loam seeding plant, which they've done. So at this point, what they did was, as you recall, they were back 10 feet from the edge of the wet area with their equipment, which was too close. They moved it back another 20 feet to make it a total of 30 feet as we requested. They cleaned up the area, loomed, and then seeded it with a wildflower conservation mix.
Good.
So now we're just going to keep an eye on it and see how it grows in.
Yeah. Sounds good. Good progress. Yeah, they seem cooperative once they understand what we want.
Yeah, and the, well, once I basically sent the owner a reminder letter with a little poke on it, all of a sudden I started getting gobs of communication and phone calls and a letter, and it went really well.
Yeah, good. Okay, North Leominster Rod and Gun Club, anything new to update on that? or?
I did receive a response from DEP, which I did forward to the Board of Selectmen as well, because, I wanted to keep them updated on that. And essentially, Denise Child from the, who was the section chief for the Wetlands Program, informed me that they are working with another division in DEP to inspect the area and ensure compliance. They had an inspection scheduled, and something happened on their end and it didn't pan out. They're looking to reschedule, but they'll let us know if there's any further updates after that.
Okay, good. And 168 West we did. The new business, that's the conservation restriction that Mr. Gustus just...
Yeah, so that's moved at this
alluded
point.
to. So, yeah, so that you got the action to work with them on formalizing that? Wonderful. Old
Did
business.
he give any indications that he was going to be putting the whole of lot 1 or just the remainder of the solar field?
The remainder of the solar field lot. He actually gave a conceptual plan that Ross drew out, which I can scan tomorrow and put in the cloud so you can take a look at it.
Isn't that the rest of it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was like another...
We may just want to review because my fear was that kind of confirmed it by inaction.
He
That
was
other
gonna-
110 acres butts the Saliba lot, which is 260 acres that goes from Northfield Road
1A, okay.
to New West Townsend Road to Howard Street. So it does make a gigantic possible development still out there off of Northfield Road.
Yeah, it looks, if you're looking at the map here, I'm pretty sure what he said was...
Yeah, it was just the
lot 1A.
remainder of Lot 1A.
Lot
Is that where that
1A.
3 minutes right in here through here? Okay.
Richard, it didn't have anything to do with that other lot that they may or may not
1B.
own.
Okay. So, I mean, that was kind of what I was angling for with all of the remaining of lot, the existing lot 1 before the subdivision. But like I say, through his inactions of not giving us the conservation restrictions, so we need to worry that there is talk of a development of 360 plus acres out there between Northfield Road and Howard Street.
Yeah, that wasn't mentioned at all.
It's lot that goes from Northfield Road to Howard Street to New West Townsend.
Yeah, Ken just said it wasn't mentioned. It was just Lot 1A that he was talking about.
Oh, okay, super.
Okay.
Answered my question.
Okay. And good idea, Mr. Bursch. I'm glad you started that.
Hey, every little bit helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Certificates of compliance.
I've got two for Stone
Farm
Farm.
we visited?
Yep. So it was the original order and for the subdivision and for the last 2 condos that were built. I have letters on file and as-built from Whitman and Bingham Associates, Anthony Cleaves. So, good. There's 2 copies of each here for signature.
Did I sign 2 copies of the flat
No,
one?
no, there was only 1 copy and I made a photocopy.
Because I didn't remember signing twice.
Usually I keep 2 because of recording concerns, but I know Deborah's in a
That's okay. I
She's in
just
the
thought
middle
I
of a real
missed
estate transaction, so she'll be recording that thing in the morning. And then I have 2 extension permits for 811 Chase Road from the gentleman that took the development over from Mr. Gardner. We spoke about it the last meeting.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I got an extra.
Matt's going to fix me up.
Matt,
Yes, sir.
did you post that inspection permits in the, agenda that was posted out by the town office?
Yeah, it's not listed on this agenda, Matt.
It says none.
Right, it was, I believe it was on the last one. I'll double check the agenda.
No, we kind of can't vote on a extension permit, because the one I have, we put on the cloud does not have an extension permit listed on it.
The one printed out here doesn't either.
Let me just double check the last meeting.
Just hand those back down.
Okay.
Yeah, extension permit, 811 Chase Road. It was on the last meeting.
Okay, the agenda that's listed at the town website does not list in the extension. Oh, did we already vote on it?
October 4th.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize we'd already voted on it.
Yeah, it was the October 4th meeting.
Yeah, we just need to sign it.
Okay,
Oh, okay. Good.
I do remember talking about that.
sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right, I was
It
confused
never
too.
hurt, you know, it never hurts to double check. Okay. And then, I mean, when you guys are done with that, the last set of documents I have to sign here is for the determinations we did for 183 South Row and 99 Pleasant.
There's only one on that one?
It's on the front page. Yep.
There's 2 copies for
There's
each
two,
lot.
there's 2 copies of each,
Oh, okay.
in case he screws up the
Lots,
recording.
2 copies.
Okay.
4 total.
That's 183 South Row, and this is 99 Pleasant.
This is all from the last meeting.
Is that on the
Yes.
town website?
Yeah, that's on your motion.
You can, a form who signed it, approved it, so you can sign.
That's right.
This is the piece of property we were talking about at the beginning of the meeting, because it's large.
It's a nicer visual than Google Maps for sure, so.
Plus it gives you all those different.
Exactly, yeah, the wetlands and. I really should use that for that. Make sure I'm
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Do we have anything we can be talking about while we're signing? Or what about minutes?
You know, Carl, you said something about the 9:20 minutes, but I don't seem to recall you sending them back to me because I looked for it and I can't find an email that you sent back.
Didn't I attach them to what I sent back?
The October 4th I got.
No, just this afternoon when I said
This afternoon.
I didn't see my
Check.
changes.
I didn't-
I meant to attach it, sometimes I forget to attach. No attachment?
What, you missed this one?
No, there's no attachment.
Got your back.
Keep them in.
Yeah, the only ones I got were the ones that I sent out.
I meant to resend it to you.
That's okay.
There were a couple things in it. So if we could hold on that one.
Yep.
Just until you get a chance to look at it.
Okay.
There you go, Bob. 4 more.
You got, are you kidding me?
Yeah, so on the minutes, I made a little mistake here on the 9:20, and I never did get those markups to Matt, so if we could hold that till the next one.
Sure.
But the 10:4, if there's any comments or changes or a motion to approve 10:4, that would be accepted.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes of 10:4.
I second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
One abstain. That speed of light ain't what it used to be.
Well, he's got to put his glass down, you know?
Okay. Dare I say, committee reports?
Jack doesn't have anything, right, Jack?
You want me not to have anything? It's okay. There's a possibility of Fairview Lane, 100 acres. It's town-owned, being integrated into our conservation properties, and we're still chasing that. Matt brought that up.
Yep.
Let's see, 150 acres. Never mind, don't do that one. Data collection, we're working with MRPC on the data collection system, and I'm sorry, first of all, this is stormwater report, duh. And we're still learning how to use that. The neat thing about it, the outfalls and infalls have just about been all identified. So what we're now going to is, essentially we're bringing the contractors in to look at and evaluate them as related to the impact on the various streams in town. Clearly Estabrook, the Malpis, just about all the streams will be evaluated with regard to the volumes they're putting in and the type and the quality of the material going in. This is going to be a great advantage for us in conservation. We'll be able to identify what links to what. There's both Lake Shirley and Hickory Hills have about 70 plus, inlets into that lake, collecting water from all over town. And what is the impact? And how do we mitigate that? Whether it's material moving across Estabrook with relationship to nutrients or just crud rolling down the Malpis. So this is the next step. And we're just embarking on that. The whole issue of stormwater permitting is in a funny mode right now with regard to litigation. So the whole Rev 2 is now on hold we anticipate for a year, but we are continuing to go along with the public education component of it, as well as mapping out the storm drains in town. So this is a good thing. Plus, there's an opportunity to essentially look at what we can do to impact some of these things. And Matt, I sent you over a copy of things like plunge pools and veins. And I was looking at the different models that they were using with regard to things that we could deploy on our property to slow it down and capture it. So these are kind of exciting times, and things are starting to fit together. And our chairman is charging ahead, and bless her heart. You can go home and tell Phyllis she's doing a great job. So it's moving ahead, and that's where we are right now. And I've contacted Ed Himlin for the database with regard to just graphing the, where they're all sitting right now. So we're waiting to get that back.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jack. Okay. Agent reports. 101 Pleasant.
Still no movement. Quiet as a church mouse.
Where are we with the lien?
Still with town council.
What's he doing? This is a long time. It's been with town council, and I don't understand.
My understanding is he's taken all that documentation and he's preparing to file a lawsuit.
No, I'm talking about the lien. I thought we were going to put a lien on it.
Well, my understanding was he was pursuing enforcement, pursuing to go after the money, not just a lien.
okay, but that's, I'm not, the lien, when will there be a lien on it?
I haven't heard back from town council on that yet.
Can we find out? Because we've been talking about this a long time, we've had the ability to lien for a long time, and it can go in parallel with other things, but next thing you know, that property's going to change hands. And, yes, Richard?
You talked to him in that same vein. We never heard back from Adam when we met with him about the ability to remove or revoke or suspend our permits for unpaid fines. He never gave us what he found from the town warrant.
Okay, yep. You're talking Adam Costa, right? Our town council.
Yes, Adam Costa, yeah, he was supposed to get back to us after we met with him about the, our abilities to invoke, whatever it was, 53J, and suspend our permits due to unpaid fines, and he has to make sure that it says fines, not just taxes.
Okay, yeah, no, I will send him an email on that and ask him about whether we've got a lien versus a lawsuit.
Yeah, perfect. If you could just keep me on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
okay, but don't we have something to say about this? I mean, why don't we want a lien on it? I mean, personally, as a taxpayer, I'm not excited about going and suing them, because that, that costs money. Where a lien, and what Richard just asked about, this revoking permits, could be a lot more powerful and a lot less costly and more timely than lawsuits.
Okay, well, again, I will check on it and get back to you.
Okay, because I can tell you that I've gone through this with council on the sewer commission and confirmed that you can, because we have a situation where fines are out that are not being paid, and it was this week. Just met again with council, and you can do both in parallel. You can pursue the lien, and at least for our case, I don't know if we have to check that it applies here, but it's pretty darn similar. You can do the lien, and you can have the ability, whether the commission wants to or not, it's a different subject, you can have the ability to revoke a permit. I think those are both much more cost-effective and get better results than a lawsuit. So I would put higher priority on those than lawsuits. My 2 cents worth.
Agree.
Okay, 155 Reservoir Road.
Essentially, the site is under an order for cleanup from planning for the stormwater portion of it. It's still compliant as far as no erosion issues. I was informed by Brian Marchetti that they did get the final survey data on the backland, which he is sending to another surveyor that we have that we're going to retain on a 53G to do a double check on the riverfront measurement that they're going to be coming out with. So he just got the data this week.
Matt, was 155, was that lot 9? Was that the last lot in the line?
Well, 155 is the whole thing.
Okay.
But right now, I'm concentrating on the back end, lot 9.
All right.
And I'm getting the rest of the as-bills on the lots that are done now.
Because there was one, when I drove by the other day, there was one that is still under construction. Not the last one, but it's like the third one in there they're still working on. It looked like the erosion protection in the back was almost overtopped with soil. It may warrant a drive-by or a visit.
I'll double-check it again, but when I went by there last week, it was okay.
It looked like they were actively working, and it looked like the erosion protection was almost overtopped.
Good, so you check on that, Matt. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, status of inspection, 667 and 675 Reservoir.
667 is loomed and seeded. 675 is basically the vegetation, the replanting, the reclamation is holding well. The rest of the site he hasn't started construction in that. He's finishing up 667.
Okay. I can't tell because it's up on a hill, but it looks like they have the foundation in now. just because there were big piles before, now there's no piles. It's flat again.
Yeah, but there hasn't been any active work on the site. He's been finishing up 667 at this point.
Yeah, the house is outside of our jurisdiction anyway, just update. Okay, 93 Wheelam Road.
That is the Oliva site that is still under investigation with the building inspector's office. We may be moving it up a notch, but there are items I can't go into specifics on because of the enforcement sensitive nature. But it is progressing. As soon as it's resolved, I can spill more details.
Which end of Wheelam Road do the numbers start on? Is that on the
That's on the
Fitchburg
very
end?
end by the Fitchburg
By the
end.
Fitchburg end? Okay, anybody jump in if you had any questions there.
Doing a great job.
Forest cutting plan progress.
Our town administrator was nice enough to sign the abutters notification for the forest cutting plan, and, immediately on the day we got it, so I was able to send it right out to Gary.
Good.
Which I, made sure to thank her for, because that was just awesome. She just got right on it and did it. So that's progressing well. Mr. Goldrup has had the tour, and I'm supposed to be getting, hopefully the end of the week or beginning of next, the bids that he got, that he's considering right now.
Oh, cool.
Because I want copies of them.
Moving quick, I've lost track, so. Yep.
But I've been hearing through the grapevine that he's got some pretty decent prices, so.
Excellent. Nice.
What was the, do you know what the cutoff date was for accepting bids, Matt?
It was the end of last week.
Okay, so he's already received all the bids. Good.
That's correct.
So it'll be something we maybe can act on the 4th?
That's what I'm waiting for, yes.
Okay, that's just make sure it's on the agenda, that's great.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why I'm keeping it as an action item. So it's always on the agenda, so we can always talk about it.
Good. Legal update.
Okay, it may need to be a much more specific though, if we're accepting the bid, it will have to, I would think it would have to be its own item, we can't just have it as a perpetual discussion item.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can make it, I can make it a separate item.
Yeah, I agree. Richard.
Yeah, if you know that we're gonna be accepting or discussing the bids themselves, we should really have a separate item for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we might want to consider, that's a really good point, Richard. I regret not thinking of that myself. But we might want to just have some guideline, it almost seems like if we're looking to vote on something, it should be a little bit more detail in the agenda so that people know that there's going to be votes taken. I don't know, just a thought, as a when you cross a line from just carrying the same title every week to when it becomes, needs more description in the agenda.
Yeah, I do agree with you there.
Okay, any legal updates, Matt, that we didn't touch on already?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, meeting schedule. Next meeting, November 1st. Everybody's going to be here, right?
Yes.
Great.
Just to be clear, we'll be at the Riddle Land Use Building.
There we go.
960 Mass Ave.
Beautiful. Thank you, Matt.
Do I tell Jane it's her birthday?
Any public comment?
Yes.
From the board.
As a member, I received a communication from the Lake Management Group saying the dedication of the Peter Charpentier Bridge will be at 11:30 on, I believe it's the 28th, it's Saturday, it's the day we're going to have a sidewalk. Commissioner can show up for that.
Great.
Because that bridge is a great thing, and Peter Charpentier was a wonderful person.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's on the Lane property, correct?
Yes.
And it,
Because that's not the date that I saw in the minute. I wasn't here for when Tom Bertram came and spoke with the commission, but I saw in the minutes that he gave a different date. But this was a more recent communication. And that's the date and time that was given, so.
October.
Yeah, that was the date last.
Well, I think he did say that that
was.
was the tentative date.
Yeah.
And the date may change. So
Okay.
the date changed.
They changed.
What is it now? Not the 28th?
28th. It is.
28th. Oh, okay.
And then because I think Paula last night, the selectman elaborated a little bit, that there's going to be a wagon or something to take people out, so timing, if you don't want to walk all the way to where the bridge is, you want to be there at a certain time. Somebody
hay
help me
rides.
out with that? Yeah.
I'm not sure what time it was, but to meet in the general
parking
area.
lot,
Yeah.
Right. So,
So that was discussed at the selectmen's meeting?
yeah, they announced it as well, too, but appreciate you doing it here, too.
Watch
But
the selectmen's meeting. to
there you
find
go,
out.
watch the tape. Yeah, because the time, if you want the ride, you have to be there at the time.
Because that was not included in the communication I saw, so.
I think Paula
Because I was thinking
already.
there's people who would like to attend that, for whom it would be very challenging to walk all the way up.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's why it was good they mentioned it, and I reminded, because I understand it's a ways out, so.
It was a ways out.
But you get a ride, too, so another good reason to go, but it's a good cause. They really encourage everyone. Okay, any other public comment from the commission? Okay, then any motions?
To adjourn?
To adjourn?
I'd make a motion, we adjourn.